It's one of the most well-known, long-standing, and divisive conflicts in the world. Therefore, most people have heard about it. But few truly understand the roots, the realities, and the human impact of the Gaza-Israel conflict. In this video, we're going to break down 25 key things you should know, covering history, geography, the people affected, and the global stakes at hand. Alright, let's get started. Number 1, Gaza is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. Over 2 million people live in just 140 square miles. Therefore, any military conflict impacts civilians in extreme ways. Number 2, Israel borders Gaza to the east and north. Egypt borders it to the south. Therefore, access to Gaza is highly controlled by its neighbors, but the Mediterranean Sea to the west is not an open escape route. Israel maintains a naval blockade. Number 3, Hamas governs Gaza. Hamas is a Palestinian political and militant organization that seized control of Gaza in 2007. Therefore, it functions as the de facto government there. But it is also designated as a terrorist group by Israel, the US, the EU, and others due to attacks on Israeli civilians. Number 4, not all Palestinians are Hamas. This is critical. Hamas is one group within Palestinian politics. Therefore, equating all Palestinians with Hamas is inaccurate. But because Hamas controls Gaza, the distinction is often blurred in international media. Number 5, Gaza is blockaded. Israel and Egypt enforce tight controls over goods, fuel, and people entering and exiting Gaza. Therefore, Gaza has been described as the world's largest open-air prison. But some materials do enter daily, and Gaza's people find creative ways to survive. Number 6, the population is extremely young. More than half of Gaza's population is under the age of 20. Therefore, children are disproportionately affected by war. Number 7, Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005. At that time, it dismantled settlements and pulled out its military presence. Therefore, many consider the occupation of Gaza to have formally ended. But since October 7, 2023 attacks and the subsequent full-scale war that is evolving, Israel has re-entered large parts of Gaza, established long-term buffer zones, and stated it will likely maintain security control over the territory for an undetermined time frame. Therefore, many legal experts and human rights organizations now argue that Gaza is once again under active military occupation. That is pretty tough to dispute, especially given the destruction of civil infrastructure, control of aid routes, and indefinite troop deployments. Number 8, southern Israel lives under the constant threat of rocket fire. Cities like Darrow and Ashkelon are often targets. Therefore, Israeli civilians live with the trauma and use bomb shelters daily. But many Israeli citizens still advocate for peace and coexistence. Number 9, the Iron Dome protects Israel. This advanced missile defense system intercepts incoming rockets. Therefore, it saves countless lives during escalations. But it also creates a sense of asymmetry that shapes how the world views the conflict. Number 10, Gaza has no functioning airport or seaport. Therefore, most residents cannot leave, even for medical reasons or education. But Gazans use online platforms to reach out to the world, learn, and work remotely when they can. Number 11, the roots of the conflict go back more than a century. Zionist and Arab nationalist movements began clashing during the Ottoman and British periods. Therefore, this is not really a new conflict. But the most pivotal moments came in the 20th century. Number 12, 1948 changed everything. Israel declared independence and neighboring Arab states went to war. Therefore, over 700,000 Palestinians became refugees, an event they call Nakba, or catastrophe. But for Jewish people, this was a long-awaited homeland after centuries of persecution. Number 13, Gaza hosts many refugees. The majority of Gazans are descendants of refugees from what is now Israel. Therefore, refugee identity is strong and emotional, but they have little hope of returning under current political conditions. Number 14, the 1967 war shaped today's map. Israel took control of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza. Therefore, modern occupation dynamics began here. but Gaza was later handed to the Palestinian Authority and then taken over by Hamas. Number 15, Hamas was founded during the First Intifada. It began as a social and religious movement, later developing a military wing. Therefore, it gained grassroots support. But its tactics, including suicide bombings, rocket attacks, and the recent events of October 7th, have made it internationally controversial and branded a terrorist organization. Number 16, ceasefires rarely last. Cycles of escalation and ceasefire have repeated for over a decade. Therefore, long-term peace remains elusive. But some observers believe new leadership could potentially change this pattern. Number 17, civilian casualties are disproportionately high. In every war, children and families suffer on both sides. Therefore, humanitarian crises emerge quickly. But access to aid is limited, especially during active fighting. Number 18, international law is constantly debated. Both sides accuse each other of war crimes, therefore the conflict is fought in courtrooms and UN chambers as well as on the ground. But political alliances often determine whose voices are heard the most. Number 19, the US strongly supports Israel. Billions in military aid and diplomatic backing flow from Washington. Therefore, the US plays a central role in any peace efforts. But this support is increasingly debated by American voters and lawmakers. Number 20, Arab nations are divided. Countries like Egypt and Jordan have peace deals with Israel. Therefore, not all Arab states are aligned with Palestinian leadership. But many citizens across the Arab world still rally in support of Gaza. Number 21, the UN recognizes Palestine as a non-member observer state. Think of something like the Vatican. Therefore, it has some voice on the world stage, but it is not a full member of the United Nations, limiting its diplomatic power. Number 22, the diaspora is global. Palestinians live around the world, from Chile to Jordan. Therefore, the identity is transnational, but the dream of return remains central for many. Number 23, misinformation is rampant. Social media spreads unverified images, outdated videos, and biased narratives. Therefore, verifying sources is crucial. But emotional reactions often outweigh facts online. Number 24, peace is possible but difficult. Both sides have peace movements, non-governmental organizations, and brave voices calling for dialogue. Therefore, the story isn't only one of violence, but extremists and political interests often drown out moderates on both sides. Number 25, this is not just a regional issue. The Gaza-Israel conflict affects global politics, religion, and identity. Therefore, it matters to people everywhere. But real understanding requires more than headlines. It demands context, compassion, and attention. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, please subscribe. If not, don't. If you're looking for your next video, check this one out to your right. We think you might like it.